One of my favorite parks growing up was one that there's no way this park could exist now the way it did back then. You may know about Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, but you may not know about how the park originally started in its original location in Redwood City. Marine World Africa USA, in its original home in Redwood City, was a unique park that had some things I loved as a kid, but they definitely did some things back then that you couldn't get away with now, and a few that you probably shouldn't. The park was built like no other park I had ever been to. It was a group of islands that were all connected with bridges, and as a kid I hated those bridges because it felt like they went on forever and you couldn't get from one place to the other, but it was a really cool looking park. It had some large theaters on its main island where they had the killer whale show, and they had the dolphin show, and they had a sea lion show. There were walruses and other sea life there as well, hence the Marine World part. But then they also had elephants, and lions, and rhinos, and bears, and antelope, and all of these other animals too. That was the Africa USA. They had a show where they would actually have the elephants and the tigers acting and working with the trainers and doing some really cool stuff, including some things that you just don't see anymore with the bullwhip and other things like that. Most of the animals that they had were actually put in these animal enclosures and pens that were kind of spread on the outskirts of the park, all the way around the border of it, along with a few in the inner parts. And the way that you got to see these animals, well, you couldn't just walk over and see them. You actually had to get in this big, giant safari boat with the inner tubes on the outside, and they looked like they're from the jungle, and as a kid, these were cool. And you had to get in the boat, and it would actually take you for a narrated tour all the way through the islands and then around the edge of the park. And that's how you got to see all of these animals. As a kid, this was just like the coolest thing ever. I absolutely love that ride. I've got great memories of being on it and feeling like I was in the middle of the jungle, even though there were no trees around or anything like that. Hey, a kid's imagination. Give me a break. There was also a theater where you could see the elephants, and the lions, and the tigers, and the bear. Well, no bears in the show. Oh my. But here's where they were a little bit different with how they treated the animals. They would actually walk the tigers through the park. Yes, on a leash, through the guests, no barriers, nothing preventing you from walking up and petting them. And yes, I did pet a tiger as it walked through the park. I wish I had a picture of that. My dad's got all these pictures that he took, and I can't get any of them. Yeah, I got to pet a tiger walking through the park. Can you imagine today walking through a park and having guests just come up and pet a full-grown tiger? It's also where I got my first elephant ride. They had camel rides as well, although the camels were nowhere near as exciting because, I mean, an elephant's an elephant. How cool. And I got to ride camels later in Israel anyways, so I eventually made up for it. But these elephants were really amazing. They did some great interactions with them in the show. And in fact, one of their elephants actually was a star in Star Wars. They had one of their elephants wear this huge costume as one of the banthas in the original Star Wars movie, and then put the costume on display in the park. For a little kid like me that was fascinated with Star Wars, I mean, I'm even wearing the shirt. How cool is that? But some of the things that they would have the animals do, there's no way they would do it or get away with it now. I mentioned the bullwhip in the show, and some of the other training methods they used, and the behaviors they did were, well, some of it was insensitive to the animals, some of it was showmanship, some of it was meant as genuine fun, and some of it, I don't know what the heck it was. Like the water skiing elephant. I mean, what the heck? I don't remember it being part of their ski show, but I do remember seeing this elephant on these big jumbo water skis as they pulled it around their lagoon. And why would you put an elephant on skis? How did they get it up on the skis? And why do I have the feeling that the elephant probably really didn't like this? But skis, they actually had a ski show as well that was amazing. This was the first place I ever saw a water ski show that had stunts and pyramids and jumps and barefoot skiing and daredevil boat tricks where you think they're about to hit each other, pyramids, and just some incredible, awesome things. I loved going to watch this ski show. In fact, over the years, I really only saw one other place that had one like this, and that was the old Cypress Gardens. SeaWorld in Florida and Ohio have had them at various times, but I don't remember them on the same level as Marine Worlds. Just a really, really cool show. But to make it even cooler, not only could you see the ski show in the stadium, but if you timed it right, you could actually get one of the safari boat rides because they shared the lagoon. The big lagoon that they did the ski show in, the outer edge of it was where the safari boat went. And there was a little island that they used to do jumps off of. And you could actually watch the ski show from the safari boat as you were cruising around. Which made for a couple interesting moments, because I can remember one time as a kid, one of their speedboats coming right at our safari boat. I thought it was going to get us. And then it turned and it hit the ramp through the island. And as a kid, that was cool but scary at the same time. Realistically, it probably was not anywhere near as close as I thought it was. But still, I don't know that they would allow something like that with actual guests going that close to the show today. It was definitely different. One of my other favorite memories of the park was Whale of a Time World. This was the kids' play area, and it was one of the first play areas at a park I remember for kids that wasn't just kiddie rides. I don't remember them having any kiddie rides, actually, at all. But the play stuff they had, for many of the things, it was the first time I ever experienced it. Ball pits, for example. Those of us older will remember the ball pits and jumping in them and having fun and throwing these things everywhere. And Marine World was the first place I ever got to go in a ball pit. Of course, now you know about the health issues and how many kids go to the bathroom in them. And but back then it was cool. They had a playground like no other with these climbing apparatuses. I remember a big giant pyramid that was like 4 times as big as we were and trying to climb up it. I remember the jungle gym maze kind of thing where they had tunnels and tubes, not like the Chuck E. Cheese plastic tubes. No, this thing had all sorts of obstacles in it, like you can see me coming through here. It was cool. And then they had the zip line. Yes, they actually had a zip line for kids. The zip line was about 8 to 10 feet in the air. You climbed up a wood platform with the stairs to line up to go on it. You were not clipped onto the zip line or strapped in or harnessed at all. You had to just plain hold on to it, or you were going to fall. You would go from the platform down to where they would catch you at the end. If you did fall, there wasn't padding or cushions or anything below you. What they had actually done was they had taken these heavy-duty vinyl tarps and they had laid it out over water. That was your crash pad. And if you fell, you were landing on this thing, you were going to get wet, and hopefully it cushioned you enough. As my sister found out, my little sister, who was probably about 4 years old during this visit. We go on the zip line and they actually allowed a 4-year-old to go on the zip line, no problem. My parents asked them if it was okay. They said sure. So I'm standing on the platform. My sister goes in front of me. She grabs a hold of the rope, 4 years old. They give her a little push off and let's just say 4-year-old didn't make it. I watch her go off the platform and immediately, whoosh, gone. No more sister! Except for the splat noise that you hear. Turns out sister couldn't hold on. My dad actually got a picture. Oh, I wish I had this picture. Of her right as she lets go of the rope. Mid-fall. She's like, with her hand just kind of hold where the rope was. And she goes splat. And my parents get her. How she wasn't really hurt, I don't know. Shook up, scared, cried. My parents made me then go back and not do it, and I had to quit. I couldn't go on the zip line because she'd fallen. Thanks, Deb, for ruining it for me. That zip line, though, it was an accident in the making, as 49ers player Randy Cross found out later. They were doing a charity event relay obstacle course race there, and that zip line, he got up to it, and he had the same thing happen to him. Fall off of it, and he dislocated and broke his ankle. Yeah, he actually sued the park for that later on, so there's no way they would have something like that in a park today. No way. But they did then. They were also one of the very first to have water slides that I ever saw. They had this huge thing called Tiger Mountain Rapids that from the parking lot, it looked like a flat wall mountain. And that was the water slides. And oh, I wanted to do those water slides, and my parents would never let me because they very conveniently made sure I never brought a swimsuit. Looking at the pictures of it now, that's probably not a bad thing, because if you notice how many people are on this water slide at once, 3 people on the same slide. Yeah, that's an accident waiting to happen. Can you say collisions? Especially when they hit the water pool at the end. It looked really cool. I was mad forever that I didn't get to do it, but Mom and Dad may have been smarter than I thought they were. Eventually, financial issues and economy hindered the park. It was not doing great. They had to come up with a cheaper place and a more financially viable means to be able to operate. So they started searching around for a new location. They had a possible spot in Mountain View in Oakland, but Vallejo offered them the best package. And so in 1984, they announced that they would be moving. Over the course of 2 years, built a brand new park and facility. And in 1986, they moved from Redwood City over to Vallejo. Made a huge deal. They had the Ark crossing the San Francisco Bay and waving at people going by with the animals. Really a neat, newsworthy thing as a kid. The park that they built in Vallejo eventually went from Marine World Africa USA to Marine World to Six Flags Marine World, and that's now Discovery Kingdom. It's got a lot more coasters and rides in it now, and not anywhere near as many animals. Although, if you were to look back at the way the animals used to be, that may not necessarily be a bad thing. And so that's a look back at a park that helped form my interest in parks, Marine World Africa USA. I've got some great memories. I have some memories I look back now and go, wow, how did they get away with that? And there's parts that I really wish were still around. Did you ever get to go? I would love to hear your memories as well. Don't forget to share them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and check the description for all sorts of information about fan pages and feedback and equipment and all sorts of stuff like that. Trust me, you're going to find something you like in the description. Thank you so much as well to my patrons and members. Their financial support means the world to me and helps me to constantly improve my equipment and to be able to do more. If you'd like to learn more about the perks that come along with being a member or a patron, check the links in the description below or at the end of the video, or look for the join button below. Thank you so incredibly much for watching, and God bless. You may know a little bit about Six Frags. Yes, don't frag the park. Okay. Marine World Africa USA was a unique park that definitely had some hauling, oh my gosh. It wasn't Six Flags at that point. In fact, I don't even remember them having any kinney rides. Kinney rides don't have a kinney ride. And so that's a look back at a park that kind of helped form my interest in parks. Six Flags Marine World. Oh.